Good morning, committee. We'll go ahead and get started. We do have a quorum. Are there any committee members joining us online? None? Nobody. Well, that makes it easy. Would you keep an eye out for them, and that way, okay. Yeah, because of the circumstances today, we would sure like to have them available. Okay, committee, I've got a list of legislation. Let's work the list. So, Senator Peck, I think we'll begin with your bill that we had the hearing on. The sales tax holiday on school supplies. Thank you, Amelia.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, Senate Bill number 432 would establish an annual 4-day sales tax holiday for back-to-school related sales of certain school supplies, personal computers, and clothing, beginning in August of 22.
Thank you, Amelia. Committee, any questions for Amelia? Seeing none, committee, what are your wishes on the bill? Senator Peck.
Thank you, Madam Chair. To move the process along, I would make a motion that we recommend Senate Bill 432 favorable for passage.
Thank you, Senator. Did you have any amendments? I know there were a couple of questions brought up during the committee hearing. Senator Peck.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I did not have any amendments. There were questions brought up, and I'm willing to work with or discuss any amendments with anyone, but from my perspective, I determined I didn't want to offer any amendments.
Wonderful. Thank you. Senator Clay seconded. So it's been moved by Senator Peck, seconded by Senator Clays. Any discussion on the motion? Senator Holland.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll be brief. I really like the concept of this bill. My fear is that a couple things. Number one, it self-violates streamlined sales tax. I don't want it blowing up other stuff. The other issue I have is that I don't know why we would just give, I don't know the appropriateness of putting personal computers and high-dollar tech stuff in this bill at all. And it seems to me if you want to do something for clothing, we should make that year-round. So I would just hope at some point we could revisit this issue with true school supplies just being tax-free the entire year. Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll be voting no.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments or questions, committee? Senator Peck.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I did receive clarification after my testimony. I was asked about the bill being streamlined compliant, which I'm not able to give a definitive answer, but a part of being streamlined compliant does not allow local units of government to opt out. So this legislation does eliminate the sales tax at the state and local level for the items that are enumerated in the bill. And during my testimony, I had indicated that local units of government were free to make their own opt-in or opt-out. But again, to be streamlined compliant, we can't allow that. So again, I'm not going to say that it is streamlined compliant, but it's pretty close, if not totally there. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you, Senator. Committee, any other questions or comments on the bill? Committee, we've had a couple members join us. We're on Senate Bill 432, the sales tax holiday on food. Or I'm sorry, you can tell what I want. Yeah, let's create that bill today. We're on sales tax holiday on school supplies committee. Senator Peck has made the motion. Senator Clays has seconded the motion. We're in discussion. If there are any comments or discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor of the motion, it was to pass out favorably. All those in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay? Nay. Would you like to be recorded? Okay. Thank you. A motion carries. Committee will move on to the second bill. Let's pick up Senate Bill 464, committee. Amelia, will you give us an overview?
Madam Chair, members of the committee, Senate Bill 464 would discontinue the state property tax levies that are currently levied for the Kansas Educational Building Fund and the State Institutions Building Fund and provide financing from the State General Fund. The provisions would discontinue the 1 mil and the half mil after tax year 2022. And in its place, beginning July 1st, 2023, there would be an appropriation from the State General Fund to those building funds. The Kansas Educational Building Fund was in the amount of $41,800,000 beginning July 1st, 2023, and thereafter 2% would be added each year. For the State Institutions Building Fund, the amount would be $20,900,000 beginning July 1st, 2023, and the years thereafter would have added 2%. And the bill would take effect from and after publication in the statute book.
Does anybody have questions for Amelia? Seeing none, what are your wishes on the bill, committee? Senator Peck.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I would move that the Tax Committee pass Senate Bill 464, recommend it favorable for passage.
It's been moved. Is there a second on the motion? I'll second the motion. It's been moved by Senator Peck, seconded by Senator Tyson. Discussion on the motion. Senator Hall.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Again, I'll be brief. I'll be voting no on this. To me, this is just shifting the tax. It's got two problems to me. Number one, it shifts the tax burden on the State General Fund. It really shifts the tax burden on to Northeast and South Central residential homeowners. And the second problem I have with this bill is that I think it basically, I do agree with the Regent Flanders' comments about it basically destabilizing a funding source. It just seems like higher ed is a punching bag occasionally, and just I want to get the political games out of it, so I'll be voting no. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Senator, I will address, since we are debating the bill and working the bill, I'll make a couple of comments, and you're more than welcome to respond. I find it quite interesting that we had legislation for the last few years that would remove or lower freeze property tax for seniors and disabled veterans. And all that did was transfer it to the State General Fund, the income tax. The State General Fund would be paying that money back. That is the same thing that this would be doing, is removing a property tax obligation that is statewide from vehicles. It would, everybody would see that owns some of those items, even renters could possibly see a decrease if their owners decided to pass this on to the renters. So I think this is good legislation, moving it from property tax into the State General Fund. They have a guaranteed increase of 2% every year. You know, with us looking at inflation, yes, values of homes are increasing considerably right now, but we all know that we could see a scenario that happened in the 80s on agriculture land and farms that could easily happen in the housing market. Valuations could crash. So their stable funding could definitely be at risk. This is more stable to know that you have that automatic 2% every year. So, Senator, if you'd like to respond. Committee, any questions on the bill or comments, discussion? Senator Peck.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Since there's no one else seeking to be recognized as sort of as a close, I am really thankful that this bill was brought forward. I had mentioned this prior to the session getting started, that one thing the state could do regarding property taxes, which of course is an issue brought to legislators nonstop in town halls and in legislative coffees and forums and so forth, are property taxes. But this is real property tax relief for every property tax payer. And the fact that we do have, as you've already mentioned, the appropriations from the state general fund with growth, I'm honestly a little surprised that we had opposition from the Board of Regents, but I wholeheartedly support this. It's one way that we as a state, because we can't a lot of times do anything about local property tax assessments, but we can as a state. So this provides, again, real property tax relief for owners, property owners in the state of Kansas. So I'm glad we've got it. I'm glad I have the opportunity to support this legislation. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Senator. Has anybody joined us online? Seeing none. Okay. Are there any other comments? Seeing none. All those in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. Nay. Would you like to be recorded? Okay. Motion carries. So committee will turn our attention to Senate Bill 431. Amelia, do you mind giving us an overview?
Certainly, Madam Chair, members of the committee, Senate Bill number 431 relates to property tax and would amend KSA 79201X to increase the extent of the exemption for residential property from the statewide school levy from its current $20,000 of its appraised valuation to $100,000 of its appraised valuation, beginning with tax year 2022 and moving forward.
Thank you, Amelia. Any questions for Amelia? Committee, Eddie has prepared a sheet for us. Would you mind distributing? Thank you, Eddie. And while he's handing those out, I would like to take the time to thank Amelia and Eddie again and all the staff, JG, Gordon, everybody that helps with the research, the revisers, John with the committee assistant, Pam in my office. They do a stellar job and keep the wheels in this building turning, at least for the tax committee. So I appreciate it very much. So Eddie, would you like to speak to your, and thank you very much for pulling this data together for the committee.
Sure, Madam Chair. This is information regarding school finance. It's kind of the major categories of the school finance formula. It begins with fiscal year 2017 and shows the actual amounts through fiscal year 2021. For fiscal years 2022 through 2024, it shows the consensus estimate amounts from our fall estimates. There are kind of 6 major categories of school finance: state foundation aid, supplemental general state aid, special education, capital outlay, capital improvement, which is also referred to as bond and interest, and then capers. 2 of those have kind of some subcomponents to them, as you can see in the table. And then at the bottom, there are 4 sets of increases. The first 2 of those are year-over-year increases for the total amount for these 6 major categories and the state general fund portion of them. And then the lower 2 lines are the cumulative total increase and the cumulative SGF increase since that time. Probably most relevant to this bill is the middle subcomponent of the state foundation aid line. You can see the 20 mil revenue that is actuals for 17 through 21 and then projected for 22 through 24. The actual amount increases from 613.9 million in 17 to 736.5 million in 21, and we have that estimated to increase to 760, 789.5, and 804.8 over the next 3 years.
Committee, any questions? Seeing none, what are your wishes on the bill? I know there were some amendments. Amelia, did you have any of those? Thank you again, Eddie, for the research. Senator Peck.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. We had discussion regarding the dollar amount as well as placing in statute some type of a formula, and I don't remember the name that Senator Solentrop used, but this amendment or this balloon that's being handed out would be basically putting into statute a formula so that the dollar amount on the exempted amount of the appraised valuation would increase with time. Now, I will mention that this balloon does not have another amendment that I was going to make conceptually because it is simple. So I will just mention it now, and then so the body would be, or the committee would be aware. Using this formula, if we had this formula in place since the 20,000 exemption was implemented in 1997, the amount would be right at $65,000. So the 100,000 is a little high if we implement this formula. So what I'm planning to do, Madam Chairman, is to offer the balloon amendment, and then following that, whether this does or does not go on, an amendment, a conceptual amendment to just change the $100,000 figure to $65,000. And again, that way it matches if we had already had this language in place from 1997. So what I would do at this time is to move that we amend Senate Bill 431 with the balloon that's presented to committee members.
Thank you, Senator Peck. Is there a second on the motion? It's been moved by Senator Peck, seconded by Senator Clays. Discussion on the motion. And Senator Baumgardner, if you would like to be recognized, I do not have anything in front of me, so would you just speak up when you want to be recognized? Oh, now I can see you raise your hand. Senator Baumgardner.
Just wanted to acknowledge I'm here. I see the balloon amendment. I appreciate the work of the good senator on this amendment. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Any other comments or discussion on the amendment? Seeing none, all those in favor of the amendment say aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. Motion carries. Senator Peck.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I will, again, because of it was just a simple changing of a dollar amount, I thought that a balloon wouldn't necessarily be that beneficial. But I would move that in Senate Bill 431, we change the dollar amount from $100,000 to $65,000. And then, of course, that will, with this formula, the balloon that we adopted going forward will increase, but in statute, at least that gives us a starting point of $65,000. So it's going to provide, well, I won't argue the point right now. I'll just make my motion to change the dollar amount to $100,000, from $100,000 to $65,000.
It's been moved by Senator Peck, seconded by Senator Clays. Discussion, Senator Clays.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Vice Chair, on the statute itself, it doesn't specify the Case-Shiller U.S. National Home Price Index, and there are multiple indices that the agency could use to calculate this. Do you want to specify which one they use, because different ones might come up with different numbers, or are you just leaving it to them in future years to index this appropriately?
If I may, Senator, what we'll do is come back with a third motion. And
fantastic.
Yeah, so thank you for bringing that up. Senator Holland.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to ask the maker of the motion a follow-on question. Could he explain to me the policy nugget of reducing it from 100,000 to 65? Why he made the reduction? Thank you.
Sorry, Senator Peck.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. The reason for reducing it to 65 is, again, if we had the formula in place that I'm hoping that we get attached and all the wording correct, the 65,000 would be the dollar amount that we would be working with. Had this been in place from 1997 through 2021, so that's the reason that I'm changing it to 65,000.
Any other discussion on the motion? I think this will lower the fiscal note considerably by over 50%. If I'm correct, we'll ask for a new fiscal note once we kick this out. If we kick this out. So, no other discussion on the motion. All those in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. Motion carries. Back on the bill, would you like to, Eddie would like to address the committee.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is kind of in response to Senator Clay's question regarding specifying the index, as we were discussing that last amendment. The balloon that Amelia provided, what it does is rather than use an index to provide inflation, it uses the actual valuation increase in Kansas for all residential real property, the average of it for the last 10 years. I pulled up that data really quickly, and what that would have been over the last 10 years, to where, in essence, what this would be if this were the law for next year right now, is a 3.888% increase. I don't know if the department would be inclined to round that or not, but that's what it would have been, and so there would be a 3.9% increase in that $65,000 if this were to become law. But there would actually be one more year's worth of data. It would probably actually be a little higher, but that's rather than use Case-Shiller, that's what this balloon does. So it has a specified method in it. It just is not the Case-Shiller index.
Senator Clays.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I guess the question would go to the Vice Chair, because it appears your 65,000 number came from the Case-Shiller. If I'm not mistaken, would it not make sense to continue on that path with the increases there? Because they vary. I mean, you can pick any number. We could use the U.S. Federal Housing Finance Agency Housing Price Index and come up with a different number. There's multiples that are out there. But if we're using Case-Shiller for your initial one, it just makes sense that we would continue on that path, and it makes it easy for everyone to look it up.
Senator Pack.
That's just a comment. I'm not making a motion.
Okay,
Senator Pack.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Senator, that was my intent, and I guess I thought without using the name that this formula was Case-Shiller formula, and it may not be. And I would have no problem if you wish to put that wording in. But that was the intent, was to follow that formula.
Okay. Senator Baumgardner, I know you had your hand up, and did you still want to comment?
Thank you, Madam Chair. No, we're fine. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So, committee, we're back on the bill. What are your wishes on the bill? Senator Pack.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I would make a motion that we pass out Senate Bill 431 as amended and recommend it favorably for passage.
So, discussion on the motion, and Senator Clays, did you want to entertain a motion on adding the language on Case-Shiller? Are you comfortable?
No, I'm fine with how it is.
Okay, thank you. I just want to make sure. Okay, thank you. It's been moved by Senator Pack, seconded by Senator Peterson. Discussion on the motion, Senator Holland.
I have just some general questions about the bill now that's gone through amendments. And I'm not trying to put Senator Baumgartner on the spot, but since she sits on education, I assume she's on subcommittee, maybe on the budgets with this. I have some questions for her too, as far as how this flows. So I guess my first question, Madam Chair, maybe to Eddie, is that what is the fiscal note now for the bill, as it says? So
Eddie, would you like to address that as a guesstimate? I know there's no way you can actually know.
I would really like to not guess as to this. Obviously, it would be down from the published fiscal note. But I really don't want to. The only thing I can guarantee if I set a number is that it would be wrong. So so I would prefer to not guess.
So if we cut it in half, I mean, just what's our published number now, and just give me a ROM here.
The number when it was going from 20,000 to 100,000 was, I believe, 147 million. Is that? I believe that was.
Throw a dart and maybe say half.
So this would have it increasing from 20,000 to 65,000, which is a $45,000 increase. Previously, it was going to be an $80,000 increase. 45 over 80 is what, 11/20ths?
I'm just talking millions. Is what's the hit to the levy if we pass this, say, for the first year? Just give me a ROM.
It would be, in all likelihood, a little bit more than half of the current fiscal note, but I don't want to try to speculate in terms of exactly what a little bit means.
Madam Chair, can we just assume it's 70 million for discussion? Is that, can I make that assumption, Madam Chair?
You can make any assumption you want.
I don't want to be accused of leading
Senator
the committee along, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, may I ask a question of Senator Baumgartner, because I just want to be sure I understand the funding of school finance in the state. I don't want to speak out of turn.
Senator Baumgartner, would you mind standing for a question or sitting for a question?
This is purely for point of information. It's not to do any gotchas or anything. I just have a dumb.
Would you ask your question, and then I'll direct it to who needs to respond.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Chair. I think it's appropriate. So just so I understand, what we're doing is basically if we're taking $70 million out of the school finance levy, if we want to hold the school finance formula whole, we've got to find $70 million from somewhere else, and I assume that's the state general fund. Is that correct to whoever?
I would ask that question of Eddie. JG, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The way the formula is set up currently, the estimate is put together based on the mill levy and the student weighted averages. Once that's calculated, the total is projected. Based on that projected number, the state general fund fills in the difference between what was available and what was needed. So by formula, this would simply change that amount due from the mill levy to the state general fund. So it would not impact the formula itself. The formula would just transfer that from the mill levy to the state general fund.
Thank you, JG. Senator Holland.
Then a series of follow-up quick questions. So, Madam Chair, do we have any assurances from our astute Ways and Means Committee that they're going to find us the additional $70 million, whatever that delta is each year as we go forward if we were to implement this?
JG, would you be willing to try to address that?
Madam Chair, it's always the option of the legislature to fund any potential liability. So I don't think there could be a guarantee of anything moving forward with or without a mill levy change.
Thank you, JG. Senator Holland.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So a couple of quick follow-up questions. And as far as the equalization formula, what this really does is that for our rural areas that can't pay for their school districts already, this really puts more pressure on the equalization formula, doesn't it, as far as you have even more monies coming out of the state general fund? If we were to hold the school finance, the amount spent on dollars whole, was that a correct statement or not?
Senator, that JG would, I think that there would need to be some research done on that. JG, do you want to have him rephrase? Yeah, I think that was more of a political statement than a question, but if you'd like to rephrase, I'd be glad. Senator Hall.
Madam Chair, that's not a political statement at all. That's a matter of fact. Basically what you're doing is you're basically shifting the burden once again to taxpayers in northeast and south central Kansas, your residential homeowners, to pay for even more rural school districts don't have the tax base to pay for their stuff. I'm be voting against this as well because just like our regents, this makes this stable source the funding source unstable. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Any other comments or discussion? Well, I would disagree. I would say that this is a tax savings, property tax savings for all Kansans, and property tax is one of the biggest issues that we hear about. And so this is an attempt to decrease property taxes so that they will see actual relief in the state of Kansas. Any other discussion or comments on the motion? Seeing none, actually, there's no motion before us at this time. Would you like to? Oh, was there? Oh, that's right, to move it out. Yes, thank you. So it's been moved by Senator Peck, seconded by Senator Peterson. All those in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. Nay. Would you like to be recorded? No. Motion carries. Thank you, committee. Committee, we did have a hearing yesterday on Senate Bill 433. Amelia, would you like to give us an overview on that?
Madam Chair, members of the committee, Senate Bill number 433 would establish a property tax exemption for antique utility trailers used exclusively for personal use, beginning with tax year 2023. There was a definition of antique utility trailer that included that it was 30 years or older as determined by date of manufacture, and then some weight parameters.
Thank you, Amelia. Any questions on the bill? Senator Holland? There were questions yesterday. Eddie, were you able to find out from Revenue?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I checked with PVD and the counties on the topic of changing this from antique trailers to all antique utility trailers to all utility trailers. They indicated to me they were hopeful to have an estimated number back to us maybe tomorrow, but they do not have one at this time.
Committee, maybe we should hold this bill until Monday until we have those numbers. Would that be acceptable? Yes, we are meeting Monday. Yeah, we've got 3 hearings Monday. So, committee, we'll hold off on this bill till Monday then. Are there any other items of business? Request for bill introduction, Senator Peck.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We have had in state statute a local ad valorem tax reduction fund for many years. However, the legislature, through several different administrations, has not put any money into the local ad valorem tax reduction fund. And by my count, which there may be a year or two, we did put some in, but by my count, we haven't put any in for nearly 20 years. So rather than just have this fund hanging out there and every year we have to, or not every year, but every so often we have to delay putting money into it, I'm going to introduce legislation. It would be 22 RS 3301 to eliminate the local ad valorem tax reduction fund, which is a fund, again, we haven't been utilizing or funding for many years. So that would be a motion, or not a motion, but a recommendation for the committee.
Thank you. Any questions on the bill request? Seeing none, any objection on the bill request? Seeing none, we'll make the request. Thank you, committee. Are there any other requests for bill introductions? Seeing none, any other business to be brought before the committee? Now, committee, we are not meeting tomorrow, but we will meet Monday. We have a hearing on Senate Bill 311, 519, and 520, if I remember correctly. And we will work bills previously heard. So thank you for your work, committee. I hope you all make it home safe and have a good weekend.